1, 2, 1, 2. Here we go. It's my time to rise.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest talk radio show around, providing an open discussion for some of the most important social issues and trending topics today. From personal growth or spirituality to sex and relationships, no subject is ever taboo. So prepare to be empowered, enlightened, and entertained during another episode of the award-winning Let's Face It with Will Strayhorn and Friends. Real people, real topics, real talk.
Gotta do it, and won't let nothing hold me down. Gotta do it, because I may not get another chance. I believe.
Welcome to Let's Face It with Will Strayhorn and Friends. I am your host, Will Strayhorn, and it is April 12th, 2017. We are live in the studio at WODU on the beautiful campus of Old Dominion University, and I'm in the studio with my girl. Hey, Rhonda.
What it be like, Will?
Hey, boo.
Oh, how I missed you.
Yes. And we have a newcomer to the show, but he's no newcomer to the media life. We have Mr. Charles Hundley. We're going to find out about him a little bit. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. Yourself?
Doing good. And then we have, again, at the wheel, we have Nikki Curry. How are you, Nikki? We both are kind of under the weather. If you can't hear, we were at an event this weekend. Did you know you were sick?
I felt it coming.
You felt it? Yeah. Yeah, I thought I had sinuses. My mom said you have a sinus issue. Come to find out, I had the flu. And then I had norovirus, which Rhonda said she had before.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that was trying to kill me.
Well, you're the praying grandmother.
Praying grandma, yeah. Praying grandma. But that couldn't stop. We had a wonderful event at the celebrity chef cookout.
Yes, I saw
raised
it.
a lot of money. We raised $8,000
Wow.
at the event, and that was enough for the food bank to provide 22,800 meals to people in this area.
Way to go. Way to go.
Yeah, so we're looking for, I keep saying we, but she's looking for the next year's charity because she's going to make it an annual event. And then on that evening, we had the WODU Awards, and our show won. We were nominated for 3 awards. We won 2 of those. We won the award of the evening, which is the show of the year. We won that. And then we won Best Talk Show. There was, I think, sports show, gaming, and then radio, music. And then there was talk. We won the Best Talk Show.
That was awesome.
So, you know what? I'm going to talk about that a little later on in our conversation.
The good company that I'm in.
Yes. So I was excited about that. Tell us about your week, Rhonda. How's it going so far? Hump Day.
Okay, so last week was spring break for my kids.
Okay.
So this
You're
is
Peninsula, right?
Yeah, I'm Peninsula.
Okay.
So we're coming back, and it's been a very long. You would think it was summer break. You know, everybody's out of focus and doing their own thing. And like you were mentioning, I came back with the norovirus. I went down to North Carolina to NC State for my sister. That's where she graduated, and we were celebrating a Greek step show, and the Deltas and the Qs, they represented and they won. And but you know, I feel like I can say this as an outsider, as a non-Greek. There's like a change in the Greek culture now.
What do you mean?
Like it's almost there isn't that same bond, that camaraderie. You know, it's like
Between organizations or interrelations?
Inside the organization.
Really?
It was like they rep their lines more so than they do their letters.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah, you know, and so it was a little disheartening. You know, you go into a room and they call out a certain one and everybody goes bananas. No, not so much, you know. And so I say we, but I'm not a part, but we just got to step up and remind people the significance of the black, Greek organizations, as well as HBCUs, throwing that in there too. The significance, because when
I think a lot of people don't even know what the purpose or the history, the origin
they don't.
of it. Yeah.
You know, like a friend of mine, we were talking, and she said a friend of hers just crossed into her organization, or she was initiated into her organization. And she was saying, she asked her, when is the next, chapter meeting? And she was like, talking about, like, well, we meet every day. She doesn't have a chapter meeting. That's something else, as they would call set. It's like you don't even know your chapter information, but you know, and so it's like something is completely being lost. And I'm not putting down the Greek organizations at all. I'm just saying that I think it's a generation that these millennials and we're losing a lot of our history and our connection with it. And because then we do get to the point where people say, why do we still need this? Why do we need a black this or a black school?
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
You know, so it was interesting.
It was interesting. Charles, how's your week going?
All has been well. This is technically, she's showing me a picture of myself. I hate seeing myself on camera. Today is actually Thursday for me.
Thursday?
Yes, I start work on Sunday, so.
Oh,
okay.
So okay.
All has been well. I've been really looking forward to coming here today, though.
Good. We've been looking forward to having you.
Yes,
thank you.
yes. So I have some bad news. So I have been saying that the show is going to end May 3rd, which is going to be the week of my graduation. It's going to be a whole celebration week. Just got notification that the show is ending next week. So they're closing the studio, I believe, on the 21st. So our last show will be next week, the 19th, which means it's going to be a lot of ticked off people because I'm booked, co-host and everything. So Nikki and I are going to have to get together and figure out who we're going to switch around because I wanted you on that last show.
Yeah.
Coach and all of them. So I have to figure out what we're going to do.
Coach Ellis is live.
Coach Ellis, yes.
I need you next week.
Yeah.
We don't need that next week.
Yeah. But we'll work it out. But the last show for the season will be next week. And then shows will be resumed again, I think, May the 15th. I don't know what day that is, but we'll still be Wednesdays, but it'll be after or on May the 15th, whatever that falls.
Okay.
And then graduations, I found out my graduation is not May 6th, it's May 5th. My department graduates on May 5th.
Oh,
At
man.
a small ceremony. I have a department graduation.
Oh, yeah, they have those and then, yeah.
Yeah. Do we get to go to the other?
You still go to the big commencement,
Oh, we
though.
do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was sad.
Yeah.
Like, all this time, they're
Yeah.
gonna lock me in some auditorium.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I can deal with that.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so a lot of things to talk about because we're going to have almost a full show.
Yes.
We do have a guest coming on that's going to talk to us about why HIV and AIDS, things that we don't know about it. A couple of weeks ago, we had a couple of people, and yes, exactly, yeah. We had a guy that wrote an article, and he was saying if we don't change things, 1 in every 2 black men will end up with HIV.
Oh, wow.
So that was an article that was in the Advocate magazine.
Say hi to
Yes.
Ike Owens.
Hi, Ike Owens. What's up? Yes.
Hi.
Everybody, thank you for tuning in. You can also go on to YouTube, go to WODU Live, and you can chat with us live there as well. So let's go into this. So, like I was saying, after winning the award, okay, this is something that I was telling the guest last week. She was talking about, she said her number 1 tip for marketing in 2017 was podcasting. And I always told her that I was always kind of embarrassed to say that I podcast.
Oh, wow.
I was embarrassed because I thought it was inferior to traditional radio.
Oh, okay.
So I would tell people I have a radio show. Oh, what station is it on? I was like, it's on the internet. And I would kind of feel there like, oh, okay, so I have to go on the internet and listen to it. So I had put in my mind that it was inferior to that. But then during the award, he was just giving out statistics, and he was just saying like our show sometimes in the high hundreds and thousands.
Wow.
People listen to it, and I was like, oh wow. And then I heard somebody was just saying, I was watching something. They were like, you never know how impactful something that you take for granted
That's right.
can be. And I've always heard people saying that, I listened to a show or such and such was a good guest. I was like, oh, you listened to the show? So I had to redefine what success was
That's
for
right.
me.
That's right.
Because I had always equated it to you had to make money doing it. You had to make a lot of money doing it. You had to have some type of title and things like that. So I spent, ever since I got the award, really appreciating what we have.
That's right.
And like I said, I didn't win Host of the Year. There was a category for that. We won Show of the Year. And I think I've done well in selecting, number one, a PR manager.
Yes.
And then guests, especially you, Rhonda, for coming on, Charles. I mean, I don't just pick anybody.
Yeah.
I always think about the message of the show and who I think can help me bring forward the
I know
message.
it.
So I want to thank you and everybody else who has co-hosted the show, and he named it. He said that I always have people come in, and that was one of the reasons why we won as well.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah. So I just want to ask you, so how do you define this success? What does success mean to you?
In the words of Billy D. Williams from Mahogany, success is nothing without someone by your side.
Oh, well, I'm a failure.
No, I think that I agree with you with success. Success it's great, it's a benefit, with success when you get money, if you will. That's always a benefit, an added benefit. But success is when you are making an impact, a positive impact. Some people don't want to be positive, but a positive impact on your circle of influence. And you have become somebody's credible other. To me, that's success. And it's really amazing if you can become a credible other in many different arenas. Whether it's like for me, comedy, preaching, parenting, motivational speaking, spokesperson, different things like that. Relationships,
Right.
And so
You had to bring that in there. But
you
okay.
have to, you don't get paid. You got to know the rules. And
The rules,
the
yes.
rules. I'm always quick with that. But I think that's what success is. Success is when you can really measure that you are having an impact, and someone looks to you for that credibility and for that change.
Okay.
So that's what I was saying. What about you, Charles?
I kind of look at success as setting a goal and accomplishing it.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, for the fact that sometimes your goal may not be the same as mine, and it may seem insignificant to me, but it doesn't matter. So long as you're happy with it, that's all that really counts. And that's really what success is. And, some people say it has to do with other people. Success is one of those things that you have to be happy with the person that you see in the mirror. That's what I consider success, being happy.
Amen.
Okay, so I guess I'm partially successful then, I guess.
Yes.
Still working on what I see in the mirror, but okay. Now, with this cold, I took advantage of not having an appetite. And this shirt is kind of flat.
Oh, my goodness.
So I'm probably about one stomach flu away.
That's
from
why
my
I
goal
fast
weight.
for Lent. No, I'm just
Yes. Oh my God. What do you want to talk about, Boo?
I have this one huge topic that I
Okay.
think I want to discuss. So, with the recent incident with the young man, I say young man, but he wasn't young. The couple, they were recently married. They were married in January, and he went to her school and he killed his wife, and a couple of the students who were there, they died as well. Well, we can go on for days about those incidents and safety in schools, but what I want to know, I want to open up discussion, even if we can get some phone calls in or some hits on YouTube. What do you think about people having background checks? Remember back in the day before you got married, you had to have blood tests and all of that? Then they stopped that altogether?
Right.
I think people should do some type of mental health check as well as background checks. And like a real in-depth mental health evaluation for marriages, not just for dating, because then it could get ridiculous. But I feel that if there was some type of strategy, then maybe she could have seen it coming, no pun intended.
Well, you know what? Okay. Again,
Oh, gosh.
keeping it real. Here's another revelation. So, okay, so you know about my breakup,
Yes.
and look at her. Okay. Naked, no longer ashamed. We're about to bring that theme to a close next week. But, so we broke up in June 2015. I suffered for a long time. Yeah, it's been almost 2 years in June. And then, do you remember the movie War Room?
Yes.
It came out right around the time the movie with Morris Chestnut and then the black girl.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
When the bow breaks.
When the bow
Right.
breaks. Okay. When the bow breaks. So, for some reason, we all three, me, my ex, and then a coworker, went to the movies that night.
Okay.
Something was going on in my mind that night because my ex was dressed up. I thought that they were going out because my mind played tricks. Maybe I had to get that exam. Yeah. So I was furious when we left.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I went home and the devil used me. And I was planning to do exactly what happened, what went on in that shoot. I mean, seriously planning to do that. Out of the blue, that next morning, this was a Saturday, Sunday morning, my client asked me, out of the blue, a client that I don't even hang out with, called me and asked me if I want to go with her to go see the War Room.
Wow.
And that totally changed my life. But, I mean, I'm not the type of person that would normally do that. But
Yeah.
when you love somebody like that and think you can snap.
Yes.
I'm just glad that, Lil was there for me. Yeah.
Way intervention. Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Then we went and had that award show.
Yeah.
We have a comment here
Okay.
on Facebook Live.
What did she say?
Caprice Elmore. Hi, Caprice.
Hey, Caprice.
She says, you don't need a background check. Use your God-given intuition. She had an idea before she got married that he was crazy. I think that's to you, Ms. Rhonda.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, but sometimes the church will agree that, well, we get caught up in what looks like it's not crazy. Crazy can disguise itself.
What do you consider crazy?
Crazy looks good sometimes, too.
Yeah, crazy can be. Some people like crazy,
Yeah,
and
that's
I use the word crazy not to offend anyone in the mental health field. So I don't want to say it
euphemism.
such a colloquial way.
Blocking the fan.
It's my hair. It might be because I got this Diana Ross I'm the boss going right now. So I still think I hear what you're saying, Caprice, because I've been in some situations myself where you look back and you see not just the red flags, but you see the hazards. You see the big blocks in the road that says no, dead end. But you say, maybe I'm just overreacting.
Well, but why do you think those signs appeared in the first place?
I think those signs appear for the warning that they are.
Okay. I've always said this. I remember a comedian saying this years ago. A woman goes through her marriage trying to change her man into the perfect man. A guy goes through his marriage trying to change his wife back into his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Okay. So, because, guys kind of sort of, we're not going to make that step unless we're happy with that person.
Yeah.
And if things change, then technically it's not that person any longer. It's somebody else.
Yeah, no, I've heard that same thing, and I've heard it in a different way, but kind of the same thing. Let me break it down. So it can be forever broken. That's not mine. That's Love Jones. But I agree. I think that a lot of women do, when they see those signs, if you will, they have this mindset of molding, this mindset of transformation, if you will. And so they say, but I see his better, and this is just his past. He needs me to help pick up the pieces. And he looks at her like, yes, we've arrived,
yes,
and this is it,
right.
And now she go around and start changing things.
I know.
Now that's a whole different aspect. I think that's growth, maturity, flexibility. And once you know your boo, you know yourself, those type of things can be worked on. But then there are the things that not just from something happening that makes you snap, but there are some things, there are some baggage that needs to be checked before you get in relationships, and maybe a background check. Maybe you need to know that this is extreme, but maybe you need to know that when your mate was 17 years old, they faced charges of statutory rape, and while that is consensual, we know the whole nature of statutory, but if she was 13 and he was 17, and
no, that's going overboard.
And then I'm marrying you and I have a daughter who's maybe in that age, it might be a trigger for her.
Right.
Then something happens and we're like, he's never did anything, I don't understand where this came from. But a background check would at least give you the knowledge to make that choice.
Give me the conversation that you will have. Give me the rundown of how you approach that.
I'm going to do the way Mary Jane does it on that.
Don't talk about Mary Jane.
Okay, this is what I would do. I really don't know. I think I would have to run the risk of the relationship ending and give them my background check. Because people sometimes are more likely to give
if you do it first.
If you do it first. And I'll say, here's my information. You can put it through security clearance, everything,
But devil's advocate, just because you do it doesn't mean I want to do that I'm comfortable with giving you my information. This is your idea. This is your ploy.
You're right. But
Why
at
should
the,
I do this? We didn't.
well,
decide
I'm thinking that this is, when we're having this discussion, is because we have reached this level of intimacy and commitment where we want to go beyond
Right.
just dating every now and then and seeing other people. We want to be.
This is kind of like your prenup.
This is kind of like a prenup.
I'm glad you
Because
mentioned that.
Prenup, because you know we ain't really got much to give away. We're gonna talk about Janet later, but we ain't got that kind of stuff.
But
So
even with a prenup, if you think about it, it's, hey, can you please sign this just in case we don't make it?
yeah,
And if you already have that in your head before you
That's
even
what
walk
I
down the
said,
aisle, it might be an issue, but better safe than sorry.
that's how I feel. Better safe than sorry with the background check. The prenup, you know, I think you got to take your lumps.
No, it's the same thing.
It's the same thing
It's
as
the
the prenup.
same thing,
Well,
yes.
I don't know.
Would that include HIV tests?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Carla, your Honda hair.
I believe we have our first caller on the air, and she is Dr. Neelam Uppal, I believe. She is going to talk to us tonight why AIDS awareness still matters and what we do not know. She's calling. She's a good friend of Nikki, and I'm glad that she came on the show again. We had a specialist actually published an article in the Advocate magazine. I believe it was in April's issue. This issue that had a startling statistic about black people, black men in general. 1 out of 2 black men, if things don't change, will end up with the HIV virus. So we want to go ahead and welcome to the show Dr. Neelam Uppal.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Oh,
We lost her.
She'll call back.
technology.
Technology, yeah, that's it.
Now, you were talking about technology earlier, and you were talking about the podcast, and my sister and I were cutting up down in Carolina, and people were enjoying us so much. And so we decided that we are going to start a podcast, and we're going to put it out there. It's probably going to be called like 2 Minutes with the Twins. I think our caller is back on.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and bring her on. Welcome to the show. How are you? Welcome to the show. How are you?
Unfortunately, this isn't the doctor
Oh my God.
calling in. But what happened was I was listening to your radio station.
Yes. I'm sorry. The
And-
number you have dialed has been
I love
disconnected.
you. We haven't
And
talked in
I
such a
kinda
long
figured that was
time.
going to happen.
Has been disconnected.
I figured that was going to happen when I called in. But I just wanted to get something off my chest. You know, Rhonda is so right.
Well,
That we
I
need
don't
to
know
start
if we
doing-
wanted to, because we do have a guest coming up at 7:30. We normally do have.
You can't.
Go ahead, say it.
Don't worry about it, because what I was going to do next, I was coming up to the show.
What is it? What do you have to
This,
say?
this was just my pre-rec
Okay.
to get on the show, because next I was coming up there.
Okay, caller.
Because I done sent you several cease and desist letters.
Go ahead, sir. What did Rhonda say that was so right?
But Rhonda said that she hit the nail on the head.
Mm-hmm.
We need to start doing blood checks. We need to start doing psychiatric checks.
What
Because
kind?
then you won't have those issues that we've been having in America.
Thank you so much for your time.
Okay. Nikki, I'm going to call you on your cell phone.
Yeah, I agree. I wish I had done that. Yeah.
Well, y'all continue to have a good show.
Thank
Caller,
you.
we appreciate
Thanks
all
for
your
listening.
input.
Yes, thank you very much, sir.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I thought that. Yeah, I see. But that. Okay. That was Nate. Yeah. Oh, I'm good. Yeah, I just wasn't expecting that call. Yeah, I'm good. I'm really good. A little hot, but I'm good. Yeah. Did you guys want to move on to another topic, or do you want to go ahead? Okay. What did you want to talk about? I know you had a couple good ones.
Well, it's a little out of the ordinary, but
We're out of the
see,
way.
okay,
Yes.
Nikki, you're really disturbing me. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not used to seeing myself. I'm a photographer for a reason. I'm behind the camera.
He's really an introvert.
Yeah, I'm a real true introvert. So the last
really
thing I want to see is myself, and it's distracting. Yeah.
Well, we can always look at me.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
fine.
mind.
But yeah, I wanted to. You're funny. Fake news.
Yes.
You know, this fake news thing is just running rampant, and you really have to do some research. Whatever story you see, regardless of who it comes from, what source you get it from, you need to check 2 or 3 other sources. And you sent something out today, Rhonda, that I looked at about the guy out in Ferguson. It was something about the guy in Ferguson that the cop that shot Mr. Brown actually lied and said that he did.
Hello?
I don't know. I sent it?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Regardless, I saw the story.
Okay.
And I'm like, wow, that's awfully interesting. Let me do some more research. Come to find out, the story wasn't even true. And I'm like, wow, this isn't very easy. I mean, this isn't very hard for me to just, back up, go and do a little background check.
Yeah.
Okay, I think our guest is on the call. Dr. Neelam?
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for calling in. So, you're an expert on HIV and AIDS. Those are one of the things that you have expertise on, correct?
Yes. I'm actually an infectious disease specialist, but my interest has been HIV and AIDS since the very start. So, during my fellowship, I did my basic research in HIV, and I was able to isolate in those days in the 80s the AZT-resistant HIV, which was then the only medication, and I was actually awarded the first prize from American College of Physicians for that.
Oh, wow.
And since then, it has been my passion.
Okay. So, I keep hearing HIV and AIDS used interchangeably. So, is there a difference? What's the difference between HIV and AIDS?
HIV and AIDS is a major difference. HIV is just like a status where somebody has the virus. It doesn't mean that they're sick. Once they get sick, which is the AIDS, that acquired immune deficiency syndrome. So AIDS is when they get sick with it. HIV is like a condition, like, somebody has high blood pressure, diabetes.
Oh,
so
okay.
Just having HIV is not a big deal these days. You give medications and they live, a normal life like anybody else.
So, once you get AIDS, it's fatal.
Well, not these days. Even when people get AIDS these days, there is so many medications out there that we can still pull their virus and bring them back to the HIV status. And yes. So the medications are very effective now. In the 80s, it was like a death sentence, but over the years, with so much research and so many new medications, that it is very controllable.
Okay.
Good evening, Dr. Paul. This is Rhonda Arrington. And
Good evening.
how are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Glad to speak with you this evening. So, as Will was getting some clarification of HIV and AIDS, I know a couple of people intimately who I would assume that it was perhaps AIDS or it was HIV that turned to AIDS. I guess my question then is this, because I said it like that. It's a kind of a two-part question. When does HIV turn to AIDS, or is it a turn to AIDS? And what you said with the medication, is the medication treating both HIV and AIDS? Are they two separate medications?
No. Okay. So when somebody gets exposed to HIV, it is not a guarantee that they are going to get the HIV. So nowadays we have treatment where we can do what's called post-exposure prophylaxis. We can prevent them from getting that HIV. Okay, so if that didn't happen, they do get the HIV. In that stage, what they do is there is a virus going in their body. So when we check their blood and test it, we will see that they have the HIV virus. So we can, at that point, treat them with the anti-HIV medication, and we can prevent them from the progression. So if that doesn't happen, at which point we have something in our immune system, it's called the T cells, and out of the T cells is what we call the CD4 cells. So the HIV attaches to these cells, and that's the immune cell it attacks. When it attacks and it starts eating up the cells, that's when our immunity goes down, and that's why it's called acquired immune deficiency syndrome. And that's when as the number keeps going down, these people get sicker, and if it is very low, less than 150, they'll get all what we call opportunistic infection. They're opportunistic because in a normal person, these infections will not cause disease. But when your immunity is low, it's an opportunity for this infection to get in, so that's why they call it opportunistic. So that's when these people get opportunistic infections, and they get full-blown AIDS, and they have other, all these other infections with it. So at that stage where the virus has attacked the immune system, it becomes AIDS. But if we treat it, now these days, we can bring the viral load really low, even when they have full-blown AIDS, and their T cells start going back up. So then, when we check their blood, even from the AIDS status, we will see no virus in the blood. So we can still bring them back to the HIV status, where there's actually, these people are at HIV status with undetectable virus, and they lead a normal life.
Okay. Well, thank you for that clarification, because I know that's confusing for a lot of people, because we see, especially in the last 15 years, where people have been living longer once they've had a diagnosis, at least even the last 15 years, and you may have seen that they were sick and in and out of a hospital, but now they are living to the point where some people are even, where we get the narrative that they're cured. And so just wanted to get that clarification. Thank you so much for that.
Sure.
Hello, doctor. This is Charles Hundley. I have a question about treatment. I remember hearing a few years ago of a gentleman in Berlin that was diagnosed with HIV, and there was some sort of experimental treatment that he went through, and I can't remember if it was stem cell or not, but my real question is, do you find certain treatments outside the United States more, I guess you would call it, helpful in treating HIV or AIDS? And do you think that the FDA is hampering some of the experimental treatments we could be using here in the United States?
Well, actually, I have seen the development of these treatments over the years. The treatment that we have in the United States, actually, I would say is one of the best in the world. We have such good medications and such good combination treatments these days that, we can have a combination treatment of one pill. And it's like taking a pill with breakfast, and it will totally suppress, the HIV. Then the side effects over the years have really decreased, the pill burden on these people, and the interactions, and all the different things over the years have been so refined with the new research, and the protocols are so effective. I'm not saying that the other alternative treatments don't help. Yes, they do, because we don't have much in medicine for building up the immune system, and so there's a lot of herbal and alternative treatments, and with different countries have different, protocols. They do help. I'm not saying it doesn't, but they should be like supplemental treatment. The basic treatment for HIV that is provided by the CDC guidelines is those documented effective. And that is the thing with the FDA. You're right, there are a lot of hindrances, but in the end, the ones with the medications that are approved have gone through all those trials with the FDA for their safety, for their efficacy, for their adverse actions. That treatment really very effective. And with the new guidelines of what's called pre-exposure treatment, so if somebody is, especially in the gay community, if somebody is going to meet with HIV positive, they can actually, the person who does not have the virus can also take this pre-exposure treatment, and that will prevent the transmission. And then the person who has the virus, if he takes treatment where he is has viral load which is undetectable, his chance of transmission is also very low. So the question whether FDA, I think FDA is actually done very well for the AIDS treatment over the years.
Okay.
Wow.
I was just wondering. Thank you, doctor.
Okay. Hi, this is Will again. I have actually one of the viewers sent in a question, and then I have one as well. So since the 80s, like you said, when it first pretty much came on the scene, and people who got it, it was pretty much terminal in that situation. And nowadays, it is, I guess, deemed as like a critical illness. You can live with it, and it's pretty much treated like diabetes or something like that. Have you noticed an increase or a decrease in new diagnoses? And then what's the new demographic of people who you're finding infected by it?
Yes. So we have all these treatments. We have so much out there. We don't have this awareness. And a lot of people don't know what's out there, how they can protect themselves, especially in the southern states, especially like in Florida, they don't have sex education in school. So there's a lot more incidents in teenagers, which is heartbreaking, and a lot of rural United States where there is not much outreach of this education for protection of HIV and not that much screening, that there is still about 1 in 8 people in the United States are still getting HIV. There's 40,000 new cases every year that happen, even in all these situations in the United States. So there's still a lot of ignorance in the people, and there's still not that many local agencies and primary protocols of primary doctors where to early identify and screen for HIV, because it's still something that is done voluntarily. So we still have a lot of new cases happening, and that's why I think this is something that we need to bring out there to make mandatory, testing, which we do have in certain situations and certain, cities and certain communities to do HIV and sexually transmitted diseases, as premarital and, certain situations. But we still do have a lot of new cases.
So of those 40,000 people that you say are diagnosed each year, do you think some of those, because the guest that sent in the question said because nowadays it's just deemed as something that you can live with, you no longer die from it, it's treatable. Do you think people take it less seriously than they used to? Which causes for, negligence and carelessness?
That could be a part of it, but also there is the stigma attached to it.
Oh, okay.
So I think a lot of it is the fear. People don't want to know, are labeled with it. So it is still, that is part of the problem in, getting these people help and getting these people diagnosed, because there's still overall a lot of new incidences in the, gay community and prostitution and the injection drug users, it has dropped over the years because of all the efforts done for substance abuse control. But the other situations, especially the heterosexual transmission, has really increased over the years.
Now, with the increase, and there are many reasons, like you said, the stigma, and it could be because the whole idea that some people are believing that maybe it's not as serious because it's so treatable. Now, that what comes into play, though, because the stigma is still there, would be disclosure laws. What happens, how does that affect people being willing to get treated? How does that affect, or maybe, what are those disclosure, like what are they? What would be the disclosure laws, and how does it affect those who have it? And
relationships,
because we see so often lately in the last, 5 or 6 years, where people are able to sue and win for non-disclosure, and and they call it attempted murder sometimes. So how is that affecting?
Well, that is very much true. Because of the stigma, these people, a lot of people, even if they might have done some high-risk activity, they do not get tested. And of course, if they do not get tested, and they will not get the treatment. And if they do recognize that I had done this high-risk activity, they would then even can get the post-exposure prophylaxis and not even get the disease. But because of this denial because of the stigma, it affects the diagnosis, the prevention, the treatment. So what we need is this awareness, motivational talk, and we need, if we know somebody has it, we need that motivational counseling. We need more support system in the society. We need to remove the stigma of the disease. And there's other issues. Sometimes these people, they do get sick and they do not seek help because they're not well, or they don't have health insurance. And or they have substance abuse problem, or a lot of times they have underlying mental illnesses. So we don't have that social support for these people, for especially I would say the young adults, who really need more awareness, more education. And we need to remove the stigma that because now it is such a treatable disease, that people should take proactive action to prevent it by taking pre-exposure. If they got exposed, take post-exposure. If not, they should feel comfortable to go to their primary doctor, get tested, get routinely tested, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and so it's the motivation of the young adults these days to do that, to take care of their health.
And thank you so much and I appreciate all the wealth of information that you have, especially as it relates to our youth, and for them to to be more aware and to be more educated. So are you saying that with the stigma that the amount of people who are disclosing that is not happening because of the stigma, that the law is not a law, or people just aren't disclosing that they have it if they are aware of it?
The law is there, but people who have it are not disclosing it because of the stigma.
Okay.
So if there was not a stigma and somebody who is HIV positive would not have any hesitance and would honestly say, you know, like, I have diabetes, I have hypertension, I have HIV. You know, it wouldn't be there wouldn't be a resistance to that explaining of the fact to the partner.
Right.
So, and it will, then the partner will know what he's dealing with, can get pre-exposure or post-exposure prophylaxis. So I think such talks where we can motivate the psychology of the young adults and old adults and teenagers to know about it, to be honest about it, it helps both of them.
I agree. And, you know, there's also, I read a recent statistic that people who are over the age of, I believe it's like 55 or 60, are now becoming a new, I guess, group, if you will, that are being infected with STDs, but specifically HIV and AIDS. And a lot of it is due to the insertion of Viagra and things like that, like give them a second time around, if you will. But and so education, obviously, what you're saying, education and the significance of how important it is what's going to turn this thing around. Do you have any advice for those who have the naive idea that it's not going to happen to me because of my age group, my demographic?
Yeah, exactly.
You're absolutely right. Especially the older people, and they were exposed when it was not that treatable. So they actually have more of the virulent and the resistant strain of viruses. So those people in the elderly age group should also be motivated to go get themselves tested on their routine work, like they go get their sugar tested, their blood pressure tested. And these days there are really HIV, really simple tests for screening. Department of Health, most cities do it for free. So there are resources available. It's always paid by their insurance company. And if you don't have insurance, like I said, there are resources, especially the Department of Health. So I think people everywhere should make it a point that, like they screen for everything else, the routine, that they start screening for HIV as routine. And the elderly population is more resistant and has more stigma, and they actually are disseminating more of this virus because either they don't know their status or they're more shy or hesitant to tell their partner.
That's right.
They might be, very well socioeconomic status, and I have seen, really affluent people. So it is that stigma too. So it could be a lot of reasons, and that's why we need to give some motivational counseling to these people.
Okay. Dr. Neelam, this is Will again. I have two questions. One, I want you to kind of clear up something that's going on in my mind. So I heard of two people who, it's a male and female, who they are undetectable. I believe that's what it is. They don't. They're undetectable, and they had a baby. And they said because they were both undetectable, it was not passed from the babies. That's possible?
Yes, but it's never 100%. So I would still recommend protected sex. But you're right. Once they're undetectable, their transmission probability is very low, yes.
Okay. And then the second one, so I guess technology and medical advancements gotten so good that you have the pill prep, like you were saying, that can prevent it from being passed to someone who doesn't have the disease. So if they've gotten that far, when are they going to release the cure?
There are so many studies out there, and there is so many researchers working on vaccines. So they say they're like 90% close to developing a vaccine.
But the vaccine is to keep people
those things are down the pipeline, but the way it is, we can control 95% of the population. So it's very close to not a cure, but of control. Like, high blood pressure. You can't cure it, but you can control it. It's more like a disease, we can control it. But you're right, with the PrEP, a lot of people can protect themselves, like you said, for the unknown status of the other person. So the other person, even if they're not revealing their status, you can still protect, a person can still protect themselves, but by going and, getting a prescription for the Truvada and protecting themselves.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, Dr. Neelam, you have really shared a lot of information.
Yes, it's been very helpful.
A lot.
Yes, it has been.
How can people follow you and get more information? You're located in New York?
Yes, right now I'm concentrating more on research. So,
Okay.
But I have a website, and if somebody wants to contact me, they can always contact me.
Okay, what's the website?
It's called druppalsclinic.com.
drupalsclinic.com. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time and all your information. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
All right. Good information.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Very good.
It was.
Yeah. Good. Okay. So,
Oh,
Can we have a moment of silence? Why didn't y'all tell me about Charlie Murphy?
it was on my list to tell you about
You
him.
didn't know?
Oh my gosh! My heart really broke just a few moments. I just looked.
Rhonda, stop.
I'm so serious.
She is so extra
I missed
sometimes.
like 15 minutes of what the doctor was saying. That could have been because
For real, because of
But
Charlie Murphy.
Charlie Murphy. I'm always a fan of the underdog. He was like the underdog comedian.
Okay.
It could be that Chipotle I ate fast too.
Yeah, it
but
could. That's mixed with a little bit
I
of
don't like you.
Okay. Have you finished?
Oh, yes, he was talking about a story. Now, we found out I wasn't the one who shared it, but I just like to say that there was about a year ago, there was a story. I don't know what it was, and I shared it. And you know me, I'm very opinionated. And I had so much to say about it. And my cousin, you know, he was nice enough to inbox me and not put it on my page.
Okay.
And he said, you know, you should realize that before you post stuff, make sure that it's real news, because this is a hoax website where they purposely, you know, post things that aren't real.
Yeah.
And from that day on, I have to say, Charles, that I have fact checked stuff.
But it's so
And-
hard.
And it is.
It
And
is very
sometimes
hard.
it makes me hard to, I think twice before I even share something.
Exactly.
You know, because it's the sensationalism of it is so exciting that you instantly want to be like, what?
Right.
You know, and then you go ahead and send it, then you find out, man, that ain't even true.
Yeah, the worst thing is having to retract your story.
Yes.
It's the worst thing.
Especially when you're opinionated.
Right.
We took I had to take a course in that, and we were studying, you know, what makes things fake news. And like you were saying, sometimes you have to go to other sites to make sure. But that's not even a good point, because sometimes people are sharing the same stories.
That's right.
That's right.
So that's not even one. And then when you see things like on AOL, you think that's a trusted site,
Nope.
and then they're sharing.
Yeah.
And it always makes it believable when there are little slithers and pieces in there that are true. You say, well, I know that did happen.
That's right.
So maybe the rest of it happened.
That's right.
I'm just sorry. And go ahead.
That's them being lazy, though. Because if you're a quote-unquote trusted news source, what's it? Rule number one is to have two independent sources. And if they're just going to a website and saying, oh, wow, that looks good. Let me go ahead and put it on AOL's website or Yahoo's website or something like that. That's just them being lazy.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
And I feel like my time in journalism,
Yes.
it was 27 seconds. Look me up. You heard about me, I'm just playing. But, you know, I worked for a news station around here, and, you know, people would call in with news stories all the time. Just thinking of it in the journalistic point of view from that, you know, and there was so much you had to do to check to make sure the validity of the story, you know, and especially because one of the station that I worked for, because it's a good story, I'll put their name out there. You know, it was Wavy TV 10, and so you know people are quick to call and say I want 10 on my side, you know, but then 10 can't be on your side if you're making stuff up.
That's right.
You know, we can't have Andy Fox going out there, you know, harassing folk, and that ain't what's really happening. And then I have another friend of mine I went to college with that is an anchor with CNN. And, you know, and the stuff that he says that they have to go through to filter, and you automatically think, you know, it's CNN. You know, that this is almost like the gospel, you know, because it's CNN. So you assume, but you have to, because everyone doesn't have journalistic, if that's a word, integrity. And I think that's what we're losing when we have this fake news. We have new words like alternative facts. You know, these things happen because here's what happens if we ever have time for this show. When we began to support and overpopularize the phenomenon of reality TV, when that happened, you know, I think it took over what reality actually is, or the integrity of reality. You know, because we started off way back in the day with just Real World and Big Brother, Big House, what's it called? Survivor. And these things were so neat, but then everything, it's so nice to see TV going back to just regular sitcoms and dramas.
It is nice.
You know. But I think with the oversaturation of reality TV and the fame and the infamy, if you will, then we began to believe that these things, because we put reality on top of it, that it has integrity and that it's something that we should be able to relate to.
People fail to realize that the vast majority of reality TV is scripted.
There it is.
Which is, how ironic is that?
Right. Right. And so it's just, I think if we can get back to the appreciation of the craft itself of journalism, then we will start seeing less of this type of stuff, and we will have more trust in it.
The more and more social media grows, and the more and more we have citizen journalists, I think it's just going to get worse.
It will get worse.
Everyone has an agenda nowadays. There's very little media out there that just want to report the facts. People want to put their own little spin on it.
That's right.
And that's what the problem really is. Yeah, just the facts, Jack.
It's a two-sided coin, because you have all the opportunity, like we were just talking about with podcasts and all these. The sky is the limit for all of us to get out there and put our voice. That's the positive, but then the spin on it is because everyone can put out their voice. You think because you have the platform, people assume that the platform equals that what you're saying is authentic, and that it should carry some type of weight. When the reality is, you know, it's not. We have to stop even using the word reality.
Well, why do you think that came about?
Oh my! I think it's the exploitation of the First Amendment with the whole freedom of speech. I think that freedom of speech doesn't talk about the consequences that come with the freedom. And so without dealing with the consequences that it has, I think it's just exploited it, and it's gone so beyond. And where we want to be so inclusive and allow everyone to have their voice, we're not taking the time to filter voices.
I agree.
Okay, so let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my night to put my ex on blast. So
Oh.
I'm on this.
You have an advocate here.
I'm on this this group called DMV Social on Facebook. So this guy wrote a post, and it touched me. So listen to this. He says, "You love each other and you're exclusive. You already live together. You have 2 separate bank accounts, your own cars, and your own careers and health insurance. So why get married? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Without marriage, you can both be together as long as you both want, and if you decide that you don't want, you can simply walk away without all the complications of a divorce. So is marriage an outdated concept to you? Is it still needed? That's my question.
Well, as I turn my wedding ring, I have no choice but to say that it's still an institute that I think stands strong. Here's the thing about marriage. I personally think when you ask a question about marriage, and I may get a lot of people who disagree, I think we have to ask ourselves, or I'm not even put it that way. I can only answer marriage in the sense of spirituality.
Okay.
If I'm talking about spirituality, then I always believe in marriage, because I believe that the way God has it set up, that there are 2 people that He said that He put together, and that you are able to achieve whatever that thing is in His will, and He brought you together because you 2 needed to be together to achieve that thing. Okay? So that's where I stand on marriage. But if we're not talking spirituality, not to play both sides of the table or be devil's advocate, I can understand why people don't see the benefit of marriage. See, I believe that the benefit of marriage is spiritual and is not always tangible.
Okay.
But if we're only looking at
the covering.
Yeah, it's a covering, it's a covenant, and if we're not looking at marriage as that, as a covering and as a covenant, and we are only seeing tangible benefits, then I can understand. I disagree, but I can understand the argument why get married, because if it's not broke, then why try to fix it? But marriage is so much more than the tangible benefits that you would receive from sharing a legal contract.
I asked that because I have a client who I assume her and the guy who I've been calling her husband for like the past, I've been knowing her for maybe 20 years. We're married. She said, oh no, we're not married. I'm like, what? She said, no, we're not married. She said, I'm not getting married. She's been married before. She said, she's not getting married. My ex said they're not getting married before. But, and then Oprah, they've been in long-term relationships. People, and I've talked to other people who said, they're not getting married before. What do you say, Charles? Because the question, let me repeat the question. So is marriage an outdated concept? Is it still needed?
Okay, here we go. I know I'm going to start something now. Humans, as far as I know, are the only animals that practice monogamy. The only ones. And the reason being is because somebody said that we should, even though it really goes against human nature to do that.
Does it?
Yeah, it does.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
See?
I know
Go ahead,
I'm
Charles. Go
start.
ahead. I got you, Charles.
Okay, the thing, the reason why I say that, again, I'm talking from a man's point of view. A woman, of course, would say that, marriage is absolutely necessary. I can tell you just about every married person I know, guy, has told me, don't do it. It's not worth it. Okay, and that, again, that's from a guy's point of view, because it's human nature. Like, what's that thing? You can window shop all you want, just don't try anything on. Well, a guy's always going to window shop.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who his wife is. There's this saying about I don't care how pretty that woman is or how nice she seems to be. There's a guy sick of her.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's how we are. Like Will asked, the 2 people that have the separate careers, separate bank accounts, and everything, as long as they're happy with each other, why do you have to bring a state into it? Why do you have to sign a contract to be happy? That's what I don't understand. It makes zero sense. And would you get on? Okay, if you had a choice, you're like, I'm going to fly to Italy, and I have this choice of airlines. Well, there's one airline that 50% of their planes crash. Would you choose that airline? Of course not. So 50% of marriages end in divorce. Am I going to go down that road also? Just because I want to say that I'm married when I'm perfectly happy with the person that I'm with? I don't see. That doesn't make too much sense to me. And I know I'm going to catch it for that, but that's all right.
So we have some people who are chiming in. Let's see. We have Chris Gaines who said, absolutely not an outdated concept. I think that the level of commitment to another human being is important to the human condition. And then she also said, but the textbook definition is no longer the same, I guess, of marriage. And then we have Ellis Crum, who said, no, not at all. There is something about absolute commitment and until death that is important to the human dynamic. Okay.
And
Thanks for those.
I wanted to rebut, if you will, a little bit of what Charles said. I agree with the whole idea of the human, this idea that is this nature, you know. But and I know your response is not in a direct response of what I'm saying.
No, not at all.
But in a direct response of that, spiritually speaking, for marriage, spiritual is that we're going with the spirit and not the flesh, and which does at times mean that you're going against what is human nature, and human nature sometimes can take us down a road that we shouldn't go.
Oh, really?
And so, just because it's your flesh desires something doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be the thing that you give into. You know, there are ways to tame certain things, and there are ways to be, per my belief system, even be delivered from. But I agree that marriage, I stand on my same point, that marriage is a given, it's an amazing benefit that God created. And if that's his will for your life, then it is. Now, everyone is not meant to be married,
Okay.
you know.
Right.
Now, we don't have time for me to exegete that, but, you know, so that's how I feel about it.
Well,
Let it go?
there's one other issue
I'm
about
gonna let
that.
it go.
The spiritual thing.
Yes.
I perfectly understand the spiritual thing, especially when most of those guys in the Bible had more than one wife. Okay, so again, human nature. Even the Bible understood human nature, which was a man probably would want more than one woman, and it's all throughout the Bible. So spiritually, where most people get their spiritual, basis from, it even says that it's okay to have more than one wife.
No, the Bible doesn't necessarily say it doesn't say that a man should have multiple wives. The Bible talks about actually in the New Testament where Jesus tells one of the disciples and he says, go get that coin out of the fish's mouth, and he says, you know, pay your taxes to Caesar, and give me what's due me and give Caesar what's due him. And that's to say that there are certain things, certain cultural things that are cultural norms, and that's fine. There were certain things in the Old Testament, the Old Covenant, that were cultural norms that you don't find in the New Testament. You don't find, like, we'll just use Mary and Joseph. He didn't have multiple wives. Joseph only had Mary. So, you know, it wasn't an issue. It wasn't, God's idea of marriage wasn't one husband with several wives. It was one wife and one husband, and it's explicitly found in Genesis, the 2nd chapter. And I know Coach can help me on that one.
Yes. You know, you can also call in at 683-4405. That's 757-683-4405. Chris Gaines, I need to hear your voice.
Coach Ellis.
And Coach Ellis, yeah.
I need to hear your voice.
Come on.
683-4405. That's 757. Okay, so that was a good topic.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
Please.
So you have a good friend, not your sister. You have a good friend?
Yes.
You have a good friend?
Yes.
Okay. So let's say you're out, dinner or something like that, and you see your good friend's significant other with someone else. Obviously not a friend, somebody, you know, that they're dating or whatever. Do you tell your friend that you think that their partner's cheating?
I'm sorry, Coach Ellis says he's window shopping.
He's a window shopping.
Good job, Coach.
Charles, you go first.
Oh, okay, sure. Do I tell
your boy that, you know, I saw your girl and...
No. And the reason being is, one, how do I know that they don't have an arrangement? Because there are married couples that have, I know married couples that have arrangements. And it's one of those that let's just say this couple is very well off.
Mm-hmm.
And the husband is known to have girlfriends all over. It's not a secret. and his wife puts up with it. Why? Because he has her in the lap of luxury. That's why. So they have an arrangement. And you don't know what really goes on behind closed doors when it comes to people's relationships. And I'm not going to go and I'm not going to go to someone knowing what's going to happen. And it's going to destroy their relationship, possibly destroy their relationship if that is actually the case.
So, if it does go south, their relationship goes south, and they find out that you did know, what's going to happen to your friendship?
Well, technically, I've been in that situation before. And that person who was being cheated on came to me and asked what did I think they should do. I said, well, what I really think you should do is make sure you're doing the right thing first, and don't just take my word for it or anybody else's word for it. If it's something inside you and you just have this scary feeling, well, you need to take care of that yourself, because I'm not going to give you information like that knowing what's going to happen afterwards, even if I did know. And I just don't see a need to do that. It could possibly cause more harm than help.
Well, you know what I would do in a situation like that, what I would think I would do, because it's a whole different story when it happens. But I feel like, kind of agreeing with some of the things that Charles said, I think the biggest thing is that you don't want to be a deflection, because you don't want your exposure to be the issue more so than them dealing with their issue, if there's an issue. So what I would do if I felt a need to really confront, I'll confront whoever the person is that's the person that's doing it. I might ask them what's going on, but I don't think I would go to the person who the offense is happening to.
Right.
I don't think I would go to them at all. Okay. At all. You know, if I felt the need to open my mouth, it would be for the person who I saw.
Okay. All right. So we have a caller. Go ahead. Calling on that.
Hey, Will, this is Coach. How you doing?
Coach!
Hey, Coach.
Hello, Coach.
So, did you hear our discussion?
I'm all over it. I'm all over it.
What do you say?
All right, so, you know, to the gentleman's point about 50% of the people of the planes crashing, and I get that, but if they haven't done the maintenance on the plane, then of course they're going to crash.
Yes, I agree with
So
you.
the whole idea that 50% of marriages fail is largely because we don't do the maintenance, both the preventive and the redemptive maintenance necessary for success. There is something about us being in a covenant relationship that transcends money, it transcends employment, it just transcends us and puts us in a whole different environment.
I agree.
In fact, I would tell you that marriage is not simply one person adding another person to their life. It is the two people individually creating something brand new that is a single entity. That only happens in marriage.
I have a question for you, Coach.
Sure.
Like one of the first things we said earlier today was when the show first started, it was about people changing. Now, you can get into a relationship and people start changing. And as they change, they are no longer that person that you got into the relationship with. They're someone different. So I'm not going to say that I understand why people cheat. I would say, no, you need to get out of the relationship. There's no need to hurt a person, any further. But people do change, and they're just not who you thought they were or who you literally walked down the aisle with.
Well, I can agree that we don't need to hurt people, and I have it. I feel it's better to leave than cheat. However, I do believe that if she is my one, and I am her one, then as I change, she changes, and some changes will never occur in my life until I am linked up with my one.
That's right.
Some things will never occur in her life. She's linked up with her one. And therefore, as we change, because people will change, we are changing together. And the problem with individuals changing is that there are two individuals changing instead of the one single unit changing together. That's what marriage is. It's not two people going in the same direction. It's one unit going in the same direction.
Okay, you lost me. This is Will. You lost me. Okay, so there are some things that in my life won't change until theirs change. You said that? What's an example?
Some things in your life, and I don't know all the issues in your life.
Too many.
But, but here's what I know, and here's what I believe, is that there are some things in my life that will never get fixed outside the covenant relationship.
Okay.
And there's somebody who God, the universe, the cosmos, nature, whatever you call it, I call him God, has designed specifically for me in order to help me be the person I'm supposed to be. Without that person, I am not everything that God wants me to be, because I am part of a whole that isn't assembled yet.
Well said.
Yes.
I got you. I got that.
I mean, it took me 30 minutes, but that's what I was
And
trying
I think
to
if
say.
you have that and you lose that, then things could come undone.
Yes. Then the bow breaks and you snap.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Coach.
I don't have a follow up.
Thanks, Will. Best wishes to you.
You too. All right. I like smart man.
He is.
That's Coach Ellis of The Rules, the hit TV show there
The
in
hit
Richmond
TV show.
and Hampton
That's
Roads.
right. 2 locations.
And we
and
have
a-
one of the hosts here.
Yes, you know, not to toot my own horn, but toot toot. Also on the
Okay.
radio on
Did you
Thursdays.
have something you want to talk about?
Yes, I do. Though you plagued me, I'm still mourning Charlie Murphy. We will fight afterwards in honor of Charlie Murphy. You know, I don't remember exactly what I wanted to talk about, but I knew it was about Janet Jackson. So I did this little post, and I thought it was funny. I made up a little song about Janet Jackson Control.
I saw.
Yeah.
I saw.
And,
on Instagram, right?
On Instagram.
Yeah.
On Instagram. Because she's getting divorced from her, for 5 years. This would be the 3rd marriage of hers that has dissolved. Or 4th, 3rd or 4th. It's 3rd? I think it's 3rd. But anyway, the question that's on a lot of people's mind are being nosy. What was the reason that their marriage dissolved? Some people say it's because Janet wasn't getting rid of her baby weight, getting it off. Yeah, a lot of people are saying because she's 95 pounds heavier than what she was, that in his culture the women are smaller, and so that was an issue. Some people are saying that Janet felt a certain way about his treatment of his mother that they had begun to take care of.
Right.
And she didn't like that. And then others are just saying Janet was trying to set herself up financially. But I don't feel like that would be that big of an issue, because unless you're just greedy, she wasn't in a bad financial state before she met him.
Well, I too did some research.
Come on.
So his estimated net worth is $1 billion. She's worth she's worth $175 million. Now, I was told that they have the prenup agreement. The prenup agreement, it has to be a minimum of 5 years.
Yes.
She filed divorce. It was 5 years
In 2 months.
Okay, so coincidence? I think not.
Yeah, she met that minimum.
Yeah. But like you were saying, it was when the mom came over to stay with her. He was very cold and distant. He liked keeping her in the house. But pretty much the regular treatment of how they do the Muslim women.
Yeah.
And during the concerts, he wanted her to cover up. We saw how she was more covered up and more reserved. And she said that she really just wanted her freedom back. And some money.
And some money.
Is anything wrong with that?
Well,
I didn't get nothing.
She didn't know what she was getting into beforehand.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think she did.
With him
You
being
think she just-
Muslim,
There's no way that she didn't know this.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think you could think, and then you don't know. You don't get the
come on
gravity
now.
of
I
all of it
mean,
until you actually.
if we can use our creative imaginations, you never saw Betty Shabazz out there with nothing on
But-
except for what you know Muslim women to wear. And we all love Malcolm X, and I'm not
She
even.
was 156 years old.
You talking about Betty Shabazz?
This guy, he's not even. I think he's in his 30s or 40s.
Well, no, he's 42 now.
So maybe she was thinking, he's not as ritualistic as her back in those days. She was thinking, who knows how he was during the dating phase. He was I'm dating Janet Jackson.
Yeah.
This is who I am. This is who you fell in love with. Now you want to cover everything up, even though those cheeks, I saw those cheeks getting big a long time ago.
Okay, so if you will remember Report, that she was going to name the boy, their baby boy, after Michael, right? And not Michael, after Marlon's brother, twin brother, who died at birth. Marlon, her brother Marlon, because he was born a twin.
Why not her other child? Go ahead.
And can we talk about that later?
Go ahead.
About that picture? But anyway, then she comes up with the name that's this. Issa. Where am I going with this? This is what I'm saying. Janet Jackson, I'm agreeing with my brother. I think either she drank a big old load of Fool Yourself Kool-Aid. I don't think anything about this man ever said that he was not true to who he was. I don't. I think that she was being stupid. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
Right.
If because he was a younger guy, you know, and that maybe something about him was trendy, but we know that men are more flexible than the women. So I don't know why she would have been naive to believe.
I'm sitting here looking at you, and I'm saying, if somebody that had money like that came to speak to you, and they weren't everything, if Trump came to speak to you, and
I just left the show. Give me somebody else that I would at least entertain.
Okay, that was just a joke. I don't know. Maybe I'm sure she was flattered that this attractive guy
But
with
you know
all
what?
this money.
It goes back to what we've been saying on this show. What we say on the rules. Shameless plug. You've got to know yourself. And Janet talked so much about the relationship she had with Jermaine Dupri, and that was the freest she ever felt. Like he would play with her fat rolls, keep it between you and Jermaine.
She's always suffered from it.
Yeah, and so if that was what you desired, and then that's great. But I'm saying all that to say that this looks like a person. It reminds me of Katie Holmes with Tom Cruise. You've got to know who you are.
Right.
Because the person that you're with, they're not the ones that's changing. They were like this way all the time, but now all of a sudden you can't take it anymore.
I have a couple questions because I know nothing about this.
Okay.
So, first, where's the guy from?
He is. I don't know why Dubai was in my head, but
It's overseas somewhere.
We some Almana. I don't know, and I've seen where he. I know they stay in London.
Okay.
Yeah.
So somewhere around there.
Okay, so
he's a traditional Muslim.
He's a traditional Muslim. So for her not to know what traditional Islam is like that's on her. She didn't do her background check.
There it is.
Really. And I really can't say that she did it for the money either, because usually once you get about $100 million,
That's what I'm saying.
You're not trying to get 100 more million. From
Yeah,
somebody else, 'cause
That
it's
is
not really
nothing
doing
like a
good.
billionaire trying to floss for you.
Well, that is
Saying,
true.
Oh, I could get used to this.
Yeah, but still, she's worth 100. You say 175 million. Something.
Hey,
There's
that's
not
Hollywood.
really anything she can't afford.
Right.
Really. I understand the whole thing of once you get 100 million, you want 200 and so on and so forth. But to do it that way, that you want to get married to someone, no, I can't see it. I just think that this is just Janet not doing her due diligence.
That's
and
what I
finding out
think,
exactly
too.
who this guy was.
That's what I
Maybe
think
he
too.
fed into her low self-esteem at that time.
Yeah.
But
I would
one
get
thing
excited
about
too if I
it
was
is
her age and had
she'll no longer be worth 175. She'll be worth 675 because she stands to get 500 million.
Well, it all depends on where they got married.
Is it where?
Yes.
No. Well, what I read was the timing. They're trying to figure out the timing. Because someone was saying she was married in 2012. Someone was saying she was married in 2013.
So they've already published the prenup.
Well, Janet's already been over here and had her locks changed at Trump Towers. He can't get in.
Well, because I like to know what the prenup says. And
I'm sure to be released soon.
Yeah, they just have reports about the prenup. Because first they were saying that it wasn't that she stand together, that she was not going to get anything. Then they released reports that said that a prenup says yada yada yada. But I agree. I think Janet, was real old fashioned. I think she just fell for someone without doing her research, and really I don't even think it took much research.
Right.
I
agree.
So I think that's what happened.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
That is a family, a troubled family, if you think about it.
It is.
I was,
Yeah, because the nephew isn't one of the grandsons. Catherine Jackson is suing one of her nephews or something.
Goodness gracious.
She said
that's why she went over there.
Oh.
Yeah, he was driving for her.
Yes.
And then he was like abusing her and then taking money. And then I remember she was in the closet calling Janet and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and then Reby went
Will
over
you
there.
only tell me those type of stories because you want me to laugh that he was in the closet?
I don't know why they would treat me like this. I just tell them to call me mother.
But what gets me is it was going on so long, and she had all this big family. Nobody was checking on her?
Please, don't nobody ever check on the Jacksons. Reby said, I'm just looking for a chance to get an appearance. Nobody's checking for me since Centipede. I will come over there, and I will take care of little Esau. I will do it all.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Reby the only Jackson.
Yes. Okay, so let's talk about this real quick. So there was these two friends that went to a casino, and there was a slot machine. This guy's name was Jan Flato. He was playing $50 a spin machines, and then he had a friend with him at one point, and he told her to push the button, just I guess for luck. And when she pushed the button, she won. So he was excited. The bells went off and everything, and he was excited. He thought that he had won because he was sitting there, he was playing. Well, the people who, the casino officials, they reviewed the surveillance footage and they found out that she touched it. So because she touched it,
That's right.
it was his money, but she touched the thing that he won. She won, and she won $100,000, and she didn't share it with him.
Well, that's when you start playing that old song, that old Negro spiritual, beat that with a bat. Because the officials can say whatever they want to say. She's trifling.
Yeah.
She just, there's no way around that.
So how much would you? So what do you think she should have did? Half?
Half. Oh, Charlie Murphy. I would have. You know what? I think it depends on their friendship or lack thereof. Actually,
I don't think. I read a couple stories on this. It seemed like it was somebody maybe he just met there.
Maybe.
Of course, somebody's trying to impress.
Yeah.
Oh, then she was wrong. However, he was boo-boo the fool.
The fool.
You're not touching anything.
I wouldn't even thought that it would have been an issue.
He had that Jerome mentality. Anything she spins, she wins.
So if you picked up your little nephew, little baby, and told him to press it, and they pressed it, they won?
They won.
Technically, yeah.
They
It
technically
goes to their mama?
It goes to them. It goes to me. I think what I would do is I would give money.
Uh-huh. Okay, we have a caller.
Go ahead.
I'm still waiting on my half.
Jesus, we need a screen system so that we can see the phone. Hi, caller, how are you?
I'm really good. Sitting here at my desk. Just
Are you at work?
listening to the show. Don't say that out loud.
How can I help you?
Just sitting at my desk and just wondering, where is my half?
It's coming. I kept telling you, it's in the mail.
What's the palimony laws in Virginia?
1/10 of nothing. Which is what I got.
Hey, Rhonda, I just wanted to call back and say hey to you because I didn't get to speak to you last time because I was rushed off.
I know, and I miss you. We need
I
to
know, I
spend some
missed
time
you too.
together.
Yeah, I was on the show last week, and I was hoping that you would be the co-host, but he can't handle both of us there together.
That's what it is. It is.
Sounds like you have a cold. Were you around anybody who has a cold? Hello? Caller?
I'm at work. I can't talk now.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much again for calling in. We're
So
changing
thank
our
you.
number in a few minutes. Thank you, though. Have a good night. All right. Any more stories? I have like two more.
I have a
I
story
liked about your thing in downtown.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk
Yeah.
about. My father. Okay, let's
Yes.
see. I born and raised in Hampton. Okay, both sides of my family from Hampton, mostly. And I remember my dad telling me the story of downtown Hampton, how all of downtown Hampton was owned by black people prior to the elimination of segregation. And that's when everything changed. Because he said that, black folks were like, well, I'm going to shop in the white folks store now because I never had the opportunity. And they completely forgot about the stores that other black people owned. And it was all downhill from there. And technically, we still haven't really recovered, all because we are not supporting each other. And it seems as though we only support each other when we have no choice.
Yeah.
that's a problem. And how do we solve that problem? There's another thing. I listened to a guy on the radio this morning who was talking about reparations and how, black people are owed reparations for, slavery and stuff like that. And I'm listening to him talk, and I'm fuming. And the reason I'm fuming is because he's saying that, the vast majority of the problems that we have in the black community now because of what happened during slavery. They broke our families up and stuff like this. I'm thinking to myself, dude, you have no idea about history then. Because Jewish people, even more recently, there were these people that were trying to eliminate them completely. But they stuck together. That's something that we don't do. And look where as a society, where they are versus where we are. And all we really should do is emulate those people, because they're obviously doing it right. Look where they are. They stick together. Was it family, education is the two things that they push the most. You don't hear us doing that.
Yeah. That's a great topic, Charles. Today, I actually was in a roundtable with Lieutenant Governor Ralph Northam, Congressman Bobby Scott, Delegate Dawn Hester, a couple of pastors from Norfolk, Hampton, and Delegate Marcia Price, a lot of people, and we were there to have a roundtable discussion to talk about things that affect our community, right. And specifically how it would relate if Lieutenant Governor Northam, if he's elected to governor, he wants to know what issues he can help, And someone brought up around the same thing that what you're talking about our community. And one of the biggest things that we kept coming back to is that we have lost the sense of community, black community. And part of that is we can go back. It's no problem going back and seeing where some things disintegrated with slavery, with some of the things. But I fear that if we keep going back to slavery, then we're not addressing the 80s, the 70s, exactly. The 60s, right. Where the community began to split. Right. And one of the answers to a lot of the things that we were talking about on the roundtable is community involvement and community togetherness, where the black dollar, if you will, if there was such a thing as a black dollar anymore, if we began to rebuild these communities from the inside out, we'll stop seeing downtown areas being moved uptown and midtown, and then they're becoming all of these different things. And so I think, my personal opinion, from being in that forum today and just being obviously a black woman, we've got to stop talking about what could have caused this over 400 years ago. Right. And we've got to start looking at what can we do to first are the cracks that are there. Where there are cracks, can we put something in to heal the cracks? And where the cracks have gotten too big, what can we demolish and start from the ground up and start rebuilding some things? And it might mean, I just think we need new leaders in our communities.
It's amazing that you say that, because I was literally thinking that as you were saying it. I really hate to hear people that have all kinds of reasons, but no solution.
Yes.
They complain about how other people treat us and stuff like that. Okay, so what do you think would cause, or what can you come up with to change that?
Yeah.
And, I know I'm going to catch you for this one too. So, and it's not the first time. Anyone who thinks that they're not going to be thought of or looked at differently, when your pants are hanging down almost to your thighs, you're out of your mind.
That's right.
And I don't care who you are. And you can say, well, I can dress any way I want. Yeah, you can dress any way that you want, but people are going to perceive you in a certain way too.
That's right.
And don't be surprised when they perceive you in a negative way.
That's right. That's right.
But you can't get that. Get that through to people.
And I think, did you have anything to say to that, Will?
Well, not to that part, just to the question in general, but you can go ahead.
I was going to say, just going even further, there's a psychological term or sociological term about the self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
And the reality is we can either live up to it or we can live down to it. And so what are we willing to do in our community to live up to whom we aspire our legacy to be left, that we want people to know who we are.
Right.
It's not about how everyone else is defining you, whether it's individual, whether we're talking about a culture, whether we're talking about a neighborhood. How do you want to be known? And if you want to be known as a community, you gotta start acting like a community.
Exactly.
I know that I'm guilty. When I was younger, I would ride through Norfolk and I would make sure I kept locking my doors, and people walk by, I want them to hear me locking the doors,
Right.
And so, when I went to college, I caught myself saying stuff like, "Oh, she's pretty for a dark-skinned girl," and just ridiculous, ignorant stuff like that. So what you have to do, I know for me, you have to look in the mirror. What am I doing that is perpetuating the stereotypes?
Exactly.
What am I doing that's perpetuating the lack of community or the ignorance that we've become so colloquially excited about, like the N-word and all of this stuff. I know a couple of words. And I will spell it. You want me to spell it? And so I know the rebirth of Rhonda, and I had to stop saying nonsense like that, and I stopped believing that kind of mess.
Right.
And that's what we have to do as a community. We have to reevaluate ourselves, and we have to do the work.
Right.
True. So when you have first made the statement about the Jewish people,
Yes.
as well, what hit me first, and I guess I was guilty of immediately stereotyping. So when I first heard you say about the Jewish businesses, I got the image of they're on point, that they do have a close community,
Yes.
that even my Jewish friends, they were taught to go to school, but they were taught to go to school so they can open up their own business.
That's right.
We're taught to go to school so that we can get a good job and work for somebody else.
That's right.
And then my experience with trying to support our group is that so many times we try to support each other and we have these insufficient businesses. We're providing lackluster customer service.
Yeah.
And then the product, we normally have to hunt you down to get our product.
Yeah.
And then when we go to somewhere else, you don't want to support the brother man. Like that.
Yeah.
So we need better examples. We do need better leaders, but we do need better examples for people of how to run a successful business so that people will want to come support you. And not just our community, because we can't do it ourselves, but we want other communities to come in and support you.
Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
I got another quick story. So, in the industry that I'm in New York and New Jersey quite a bit.
Okay.
So, this one place I would go to in New Jersey, I've been there several times. I remember going there one day and they had to perform some work for me while I waited. I was there for 4 hours. Now, this is a Jewish-owned business. They had a lot of Mexicans and Central Americans working for them. And I remember the owner coming up to me and saying, "Why are you still here?" I said, "Well, it's just taking these guys a long time for some reason." He went over to them. Now, mind you, this owner's probably his late 70s, and it's run by him and his 2 sons and his nephew. And he told all of his workers, "Go home. Just get out of here." And he got on the radio and he called his 2 sons and his nephew, and they came and finished the work, okay? So the next time I went back, and I remember I'm outside about to walk in the door, and the nephew came up to me. Now, what he said to me, I could have taken it 2 different ways. Thank goodness I took the road that I took. He said, he said, just like this, it's just going to sound weird, I'm going to give you a warning. He said, you speak very well.
Oh.
Okay, and I said to him, thank you. Now, I could have said, oh, what, black man can't speak well? No, I'm not going down that road. And I said to him, if my people had half the work ethic as your people, we'd be a lot further along than we are. And that was based on my prior experience at that place. If there's something wrong and their customers, like you were talking about customer service, and their customer is not getting what they want, they will go above and beyond to get it done.
That's right.
Not us.
Why can't, I don't for life, I can't understand why we don't do the same thing. Because you keep customers that way. You have a lot of people. Yes, exactly.
And quick to ask for a hookup.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Yes.
Don't get me started.
Other examples?
We'll hook up with the hookup.
Okay. So we have a few more minutes, though. So I want you to tell me about your event that you have coming up, Chris.
That's all right. Don't worry. It happens all the
I
time.
looked right at you and called you that. My bad, Charles.
It's all right.
Go ahead.
June the 4th, we're having a fashion show in Hampton. It's called Genesis, and the reason we're calling Genesis is because it's going to be a new beginning in fashion shows in Virginia. And my partner and I, Kevin Higgins, we travel to New York several times a year. Yes. We travel to New York several times a year, and we shoot these high-end fashion shows. And now it's to the point where the fashion shows are asking us to come and help promote and stuff like that. And we started to learn what goes on in a fashion show. And come to find out, it wasn't a whole lot. It was making sure you have a venue, models, hair, makeup, and designers. And you promote the show. Well, some people that promote shows, they want to have catering and dancers and singers and stuff like that, that you still have to pay. But that's not why the people are there. The people are there to see clothing. So we're literally, we're focusing on what makes a fashion show a real fashion show. But also we're in partnership with the Alzheimer's Association, so we're not trying to make any money off of this. We just want to provide Hampton Roads with a high-end quality show. Amen. And all the proceeds that we get, we're donating to the Southeastern Hampton Roads chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. And several of us have had, family members that were affected by Alzheimer's. I have a couple of friends who, right now, either have a parent or grandparent or something like that that's being affected by it. So yeah. It's something, like I said, we're not trying to make any money off of this. We just want to give people a good show and then go ahead and donate all the proceeds to help a really, really good cause. Yes. Oh, by the way, you can find any information you want on, excuse me, therunwayauthority.com, and everything you need to know is up there. Donations. We take everything. Nickels and dimes is fine with us.
That's right.
So, again, it's all
except for EBT, y'all don't
except
take
for,
it.
we can't accept that. Like I said, it's all going to a really, really good cause.
And what's the date and the location again?
It's June 4th in Hampton, Virginia, downtown Hampton at the old, they call it the historic post office.
Okay. What's
from 6 to 9 that Sunday.
Okay.
Yes.
You already have your models and everything?
Oh, yes. We have,
so you said. Okay.
Well, one of the things about the models, and I guess this is the first time people are actually hearing this, we get messages almost every day. Hey, when are you having your model call? Do you need help with this? Because Kevin and I have been fashion photographers, or at least photographers in the area, we know the models in the area. We know who can walk, because that's another thing people fail to realize. Just because someone's pretty doesn't mean they look good and can walk in clothing.
That's always been my problem. I can't walk.
So we chose industry standard models, which are about at least 5'10" and above, and so on and so forth, to walk in these clothes, because we want fashion shows are designer driven. The designers are the ones that get all the benefit from a fashion show. So we're making sure that they get all the benefits that they expect from a fashion show. We want people outside this area to see what we can do here.
Exactly.
And we're gonna do it.
All right.
Yep.
All right, Rhonda, what you have coming up? Anything?
Yes, I have two things coming up. One thing, as they say in church, this is the part where we all can give. My daughter is part of the East End Flyers Track Club, and I am shamelessly putting it out there that we are fundraising for, we have raffle tickets, and anyone who is hearing my voice, who is following us, you can get a raffle ticket from me. They are just $5. And if you win first prize is an Xbox One, maybe that doesn't do it for you. Second prize, Hampton Jazz Festival tickets, 2. And if that doesn't do it for you, the third prize is a $75 gift card. So really good prizes for just $5. And the winner will be announced on April the 29th. And that's, again, for the East End Flyers Track Club. These are for our youth who are running track, and my daughter is one of them. And so hit me up and get a raffle ticket. And then the second thing is, I tell you all a lot about that I do comedy and I speak and all of these things. And so I thought I would tell you about a time that I will be speaking soon. So at my church, it's not an official event, if you will. Well, it's official at the church. Our ministers in training are learning, developing their preaching pattern, if you will. And so our pastor has encouraged all of them, as well as the ordained and licensed ministers, that we will all be preaching a 7-minute sermon. And it will be on the 23rd of this month, so it'll be the 4th, not this Sunday, but next Sunday at 3 o'clock at Second Baptist Church, East End, 3 o'clock. You can come see me preach on something for 7 minutes.
Ooh. And
so it'll be exciting. Oh man,
I'm excited for you.
And that's in Newport News, and you can look it up, Second Baptist Church, East End. And again, like I said earlier with the podcast, my sister and I are developing our podcast, the twins talking about whatever and doing it up.
All right.
Excellent.
Nikki, you got anything coming up? Nothing she can talk about. Okay. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break so that I can clear my nose, and then we'll be right back. I have one more topic, and then we're going to go home, okay?
All right.
So you're listening to Let's Face It? We'll be right back.
You've been listening to Let's Face It with Neelam, Strayhorn, and Friends. We'll be right back.
It's 6:42 p.m. Time for Steve Plotto and his son Dylan to do the dishes. They talk about everything from the yuckiness of girls to the awesomeness of his soccer team. Sometimes they don't talk at all. Then, hey! The dreaded splash fight. It's Dad o'clock, and it's the best time of the day. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Okay, forest animals, today is a new day. Kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow.
Yes?
Have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. Okay, River.
Dude.
How's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man. Perfect for a little riverside shoeless relaxation.
Ah, good. Owl, you here? Cool. Who's asking? I am. Look, you know the drill. Sleep during the day, scare the kids at night.
Perfect. I love my job.
Oak tree? Still in the same place I left you last year. That's what I like, consistency.
Well, it's not like I'm going anywhere for the next couple hundred years.
I know. I love it. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. You'd think he would have learned by now to leave the night before our meetings. Okay. Squirrel. Has anybody seen Mr. Squirrel?
The forest has been preparing just for you. Visit a forest near you today. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I was sensitive to lights and sounds, so I built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. Sometimes I did the same things over and over, until one day I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Sparky the Fire Dog here. Make sure your family has a fire escape plan, and they practice it twice a year. One important thing to practice is get low and go. If you see or smell smoke, it's important to get low and go. Protect your family from fire. For more information, visit sparky.org.
We want to keep you, your family, and your community safer from fire. This message brought to you by the National Fire Protection Association and your local fire department. Visit sparky.org.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her.
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Keep a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
You're now listening to Let's Face It with Will Strayhorn and Friends. Now back to the show.
Welcome back. We're in our last few minutes. Rhonda and Charles.
Family reunion.
You know when you find somebody, you know there's a connection.
Yes.
Well, I'm sure you saw it. You didn't hear it, but yeah, they know each other.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anything you want to share or anything like that?
It's just been a long,
Yes.
long
Charles knew me
time.
when I was a little girl.
Yes.
He was like a teenager.
Yep.
Wait a minute. When you was a little girl?
Yeah.
For real.
Really?
I've known her brother since, for 30 years.
Yes.
Literally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
we met in
full
7th
circle.
grade. It is the craziest thing. And a couple of our friends were just talking about him today. And that is, the world does, it keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller, you know. Wow.
Wow.
Okay. Well, glad y'all know each other. You smiling?
I am, because my brother, if you knew my brother Michael, it's always nice to know great people that he's connected to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Sometimes, you know.
Okay.
Oh, it's nice.
Well, we have one more topic I think we'll get into. I'm just so
That's cool.
Yeah. Okay, so Nick and Nick Cannon and Mariah Carey.
Oh my.
So Mariah Carey, after the breakup with the billionaire guy, she got with one of her dancers. His name is Brian Tanaka or whatever. So they dated for a while. He was really treating him well. So they would go on, vacation. She would pay for everything, of course. But one thing that happened was Nick is really current. He's still present in the life because they have kids together.
That's right.
So they would still take vacations together. They, I think the thing that really threw this boyfriend off was recently they had the Nickelodeon's Kids' Choice Awards.
And they were all dressed alike.
Ooh. So he felt like he was disrespected. So, and then I guess people were whispering to Mariah saying, well, he's acting like this and, you're treating him to all these clothes and trips and blah, 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 blah. So she ended the relationship. So I want to know, do you think it's wrong that, even though it's her ex, that Nick is still coming around and they're still doing that? You don't think she should respect her boyfriend a little bit more?
Well, piggybacking on something that Charles said earlier, everybody has their own unique relationship.
Uh-huh.
And Mariah Carey and Nick Cannon have a very unique, we're going to use that word.
Unique. Yes.
Unique, relationship. And homeboy, I think, in the words of my grandmother, began to smell himself and was he came out of his lane, because for all intensive purposes, I say this, they probably have just an awkward, we'll say awkward, whatever, but co-parenting relationship. And I think a lot of the things they do is because of what they believe is a benefit to their children. Now, I think homeboy, it goes like we were saying, he acts like he didn't know what he was getting into when he was dating Mariah. And then Mariah needs to stop boy toying.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, and showboating. She needs to grow up, and so.
But I would say that it doesn't help the relationship to have everyone dressed alike except for him.
Yeah.
You don't do that. And I understand the co-parenting thing. You have to, but that's really taking it to the extreme. And I would kind of understand why he would start to feel, lack of better words, insecure.
Yeah.
He's kind of owed that. And she should have said, look, this is what's going to happen, even had him dress alike, like them.
I don't think he came. I don't think he was invited.
Yeah, I don't think he was
that
invited.
makes it even worse.
Yeah, he won't even
was like a
invite
family thing.
So, but there's one other thing. She's paying the bills, so he should just go along for the ride.
Right.
As my mother used to say, Jesse James is robbing this train, you're just along for the ride.
Right,
Okay, so-
right.
On Instagram, we have a comment here. Bad Girl of Comedy says, a boy toy is necessary sometimes.
It is necessary.
Will says that.
But she needs to make sure her boy toys are in the right category, because boy toy must have thought that he was playing with Doc McStuffins and he came alive. You are a toy.
Yes.
You need to go back stuffed.
He didn't have any position.
Yeah, he didn't have a position. He wasn't even on the bench. He was someone that came to visit the game.
He was on the practice squad.
He was outside the fence.
He was outside the fence looking, hoping he could catch a ball.
So we have like 2 minutes left. I want to ask each of you 2 questions.
Okay.
Sure.
So the first question I'm going to ask you is, what has life, and you and I had a good conversation last week, I believe. So, what has life taught you lately, recently?
Oh man, life has taught me recently flexibility. Taught me flexibility and to. That's what I'm gonna say. It taught me flexibility. Yeah, because so many things some things just don't stay the same, and you've got to be willing to move with it and not get stuck.
Ooh, that's good.
So,
that's tweetable.
That's
okay.
tweetable. Quote me on that.
This is an easy one.
Okay.
If it doesn't make you money or make you happy, let it go.
Ooh.
Yep, simple as
That's
that.
tweetable.
Yeah.
Well, I don't own that one.
Make you money
Adam
or make
Carolla
you
owns
happy,
that
let
one,
it
so
go.
I can't.
If it doesn't make you money or make you happy, let it go.
Yeah, that's about it.
I think a bit. Let it go. That's a
Put it
little
on the
PKO.
streets. All right, let me see here. The next one is, because I know you very well, getting to know you, what impact, other than making people laugh, do you want to leave on the world?
The impact that I
Because I'm seeing you go into a certain direction. I don't know if it's just, if everybody watching your life is seeing the same thing, but what impact do you want to leave on the world?
Oh man. Give me a second. Go ahead, Charles, and I go.
I have a 17-year-old son, and one of the things that I've taught him is believe me or trust me, but question everything that I say to you. If it doesn't add up or doesn't seem right, question me. And if I can't explain it to you, then maybe I need to change my opinion. And that is the one thing I like to leave the world. Question everything if it doesn't add up. Don't take everything. Was it whole cloth? Is that the term?
She's good with those.
You know,
Is that Ronnie?
What is it?
Whole cloth.
I don't know that one.
Okay, well, anyway, don't take everything at face value.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and question it, because you may learn something. You may learn something, something you never even thought about.
What about you, Nikki?
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Your impact.
Oh, the impact. That if I ever met you or know of you or had any type of interaction with you, that you're better off meeting me. That I made some type of difference in your life.
Do you know what that is? When Maya Angelou said that's your legacy.
Yes.
That's your legacy.
That's your legacy.
Wow.
Well, I would say that the impact that I would like to leave with people is that those who came under the sound of my voice and within my presence, that similar to what Nikki said, but that it inspired them to want to do more for someone else more than they did for themselves. And then the second thing would understand the value of reciprocity.
Yes.
You know, so those would be the legacy that I would hope that I could leave, that the lack of selfishness. So that would probably be the legacy, the impact that I would like to have. I would say.
Me? Mine, oh my God, I will cry.
You got out of answering two questions, by the way.
Mine is, my whole thing that I've always talked about is just overcoming. Like I said, even with this series, this whole season, it's only maybe like a tenth of everything that I've shared.
Yeah.
I would need like 3 more seasons. But after everything is seen, I hope the right people are touched and that they get the message that I want to share, that there's hope.
Amen.
There's still hope. And that you can overcome, there's redemption, there's second chances, and you can still make it.
That's good. That's good.
So that's the legacy that I want to leave.
What helps with that?
What?
To be the best encourager that you can be.
That's right.
When someone called me that, they said, "You're the best encourager I've ever met." I never considered myself as an encourager. It's just what I do. And when she was standing in the middle of this big auditorium, we were at the Chesapeake Conference Center, and I forgot there were hundreds of other people around us. But by the time I got through pouring into her, she was standing there in tears. And that's when she told me, "You are the biggest encourager I've ever met." I'm like, I'm just speaking my truth.
You know that.
No, I don't see myself as that. I just tell you what I think you should know.
That's
what
right.
I see in you.
With
I have
authority.
This gift from God. I have this gift, like, I can see
Yeah.
what you can't see.
Yeah. You can. You can. I've been a witness of it.
And then if you don't listen to me, then we got a problem.
Yes. I'm a witness of that too.
Okay. We're going to sign on.
All right, yeah. Well, thank you both for coming on the show, Rhonda. Like I said, next week is the last show. Not sure where my next home is. It may be here, or, you know, I don't know. I really want to go on TV. That's my prayer. That's what I want to do next.
got you.
Charles, thank you, man, for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me.
Not the last time you'll be on the show.
I would hope not.
Yes,
It was
exactly.
great.
You were great. I appreciate it.
Yes.
So everyone else, make sure you tune in next week for our last show for this season. So we're not going to really make it this season to our 150th show. So it'll be 148.
Oh, man.
148 episodes, but yeah, we'll still celebrate it. Until next week, everybody, be blessed.
That was an awesome show.
Thank you for listening to Let's Face It with Will Strayhorn and Friends. Please be sure to visit us on the web at letsfaceitradio.com and at Let's Face It Radio on Facebook for the latest in show information and exciting, innovating ways that you can be a part of the show. So tune in next week, same place, same time, for real people, real topics, real talk. Let's face it.